When we solve inequalities with multiplication and division, it's similar to that of solving equations. There's one little catch, and that's why I wanted you all to check your inequalities, because if you don't check, you might make a mistake on this particular lesson. So first thing, in letter A, we drop a line, and the inverse is multiplication. So I get x is greater than negative 40. So I check. I can check 0. That's my favorite check number. 0 over 8 is greater than negative 5. 0 is greater than negative 5, so that checks. And I have to graph it. I will put negative 40 in the middle because that was my solution. Negative 39, negative 41. Open circle, going to the right. If you want to try letter B on your own, feel free to do so. I will drop a line, divide by 3. X is less than or equal to negative 8. I can't check 0. I'll check negative 10. And I get negative 30 is less than or equal to negative 24. That is true, so that checks, and I will graph negative 8 in the center, close circle, going to the left. Don't forget to color in the arrow tip. So that's all well and good. Everything's checking, and it's the same as if it were an equation. But something a little tricky happens when we get to this example. So usually I ask you to write as I write, but what I'd like you to do is just look at what I'm doing for the moment, and then I'll tell you when I want you to write, because I'm actually going to do something that's wrong. So if you follow the steps, I would drop a line, and then multiply both sides by negative 3. And so I'd get y is greater than negative 6. And I'd circle it and check it. So greater than negative 6, well, 0 is greater than negative 6, so I'll plug in 0. And then when you do that, 0 divided by negative 3 is 0. That's not true. So then you say, what? What did I do wrong? I multiplied properly. I did the correct inverse. I checked a number that's in the solution set. And the reason is that down here, let's fill in this note, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must change the direction of the symbol. So now I'm going to erase all this bad work, and I want you to do it correctly with me. So I'm still going to keep the inverse of multiplying by negative 3, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say y is less than negative 6, because everything changes when you flip from positive land to negative land. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, you're reversing what land you're talking about. And if you think about numbers that are negative, negative 1 is a pretty large negative number. But positive 1 is actually quite a small positive number. So when something's large in the negative universe, it's actually small in the positive universe. So that's why you have to change the direction of the symbol. And that only happens when you multiply or divide by a negative number. You never change the direction of the symbol any other time. So now let's check. And now I'm checking a number that's less than negative 6. So let's do negative 9. Now, I hope that you're realizing that I'm not picking negative 7, because negative 7 would not be friendly to divide. So if I get to pick the number, I'm going to pick a number that's friendly. So negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3, and so that does check. So that's why you want to make sure to flip the direction of the symbol. The final thing that we have to do is to graph it on the number line. So here we go. Negative 6 is in the middle. This would be negative 5. This would be negative 7. Since I'm less than, it's going to have an open circle, and less than goes to the left. Another way to check is that -9, which was my check number, should be in the colored in area. So I'm going to go to the left, and that's where -9 would be. All right, if you want to try letter B on your own, feel free to do so. Let's drop a line and do an inverse. The inverse here is going to be divide by -7. And now be careful because you're dividing by a negative number. And when you multiply or divide by a negative number, I'm going to change the direction of the symbol. So y is now greater than or equal to -5. And let me just check to confirm that I've done it correctly. I'm going to check, well, I can use 0, so I will check 0. So -7 times 0 is less than or equal to 35, and that is true. So it checks. And finally, I'm going to graph it. So -5, -4, -6, close circle. And this side gets colored to the right. That's where 0 would be, and greater than goes to the right. Now, last thing I want to point out is that this is the reason why I discourage you greatly from checking the numbers that you get. If you check -6, or I'm sorry, if you go here and you check -5, you'll get a true statement because you'll get positive 35 is less than or equal to positive 35, and that will check. But if you checked on the wrong side, then you'll catch yourself. So don't check this number, and this is the instance. It's because if you plug in this number, it will actually give you a true statement, and you could potentially be wrong. If you have any questions, write them down and ask me when you come to class.